Carmen, Electra, and Dennis Rodman, Part 1. This is an iconic 90s couple, and I'm excited to dive in. So this couple shocked everybody because Dennis Rodman was seen as like strange and unusual, and he had an affinity for women's clothing, and Carmen Electra is like she's 90s royalty. She's a style icon. She was everywhere in the 90s and 2000s. So let's begin. Carmen Electra, born Tara Leigh Patrick, was born in Sharonville, Ohio on April 20th, 1972. Taurus sun, Cancer moon, Cap rising. She's maternal. She's a generous soul. We love that. Don't fuck with her. She has a temper. She's right. You know what I mean? Dennis Keith Rodman was born on May 13th, 1961 in Trenton, New Jersey. He is a Taurus sun, a Taurus moon. Ooh, that sun-moon connection, that'll get ya. And also a Cap rising. This story does involve DV. This is a trigger warning, and if it's too much for you, that's okay. I'll see you next time. So Carmen Electra is a very popular figure in the 90s. She is known for her Playboy spreads. I didn't know a boy that didn't have her alcohol spreads. I think she did Miller Lite or Budweiser, or maybe I'm confusing her with Sofia Vergara. They both had posters up in every 90s kids' walls, okay? She also had an MTV show called Singled Out, and she was on Baywatch. She also has a great sense of humor about herself. A lot of people tried to rag on her, and she would be in on the joke a lot. I remember that a lot. And she was the first person on a red carpet that I watched they asked her what's her secret, her beauty secret, and she said the moment she steps out of the shower, she lathers herself in moisturizer. I love Carmen Electra. And she does have an affinity. She does like, what's that meme? I like my men a little gay. She does love an effeminate weirdo man, and I'm right there with you, girl. I'm right there with you, girl. She started as a dancer in 1990, and then she got a record deal. She started appearing on TV. The singing career kind of took a left, exited the building, and she just became more and more of a TV and movie personality. An actress personality. I'm so sorry, Carmen. Dennis Rodman really has risen above a very, very tough childhood and housing projects outside of Dallas, Texas. He has many siblings. He claims to be the oldest of 47 siblings, which his father disputes and says it's only 28. Thank you for the clarification. Okay. His father left his family when he was 5 years old and moved to the Philippines. Dennis Rodman writes this in his book. I haven't seen my father in more than 30 years, so what's there to miss? That's heartbreaking. I just look at it like this. Some man brought me into this world. That doesn't mean I have a father. He would not see his father again until 2012. So Dennis Rodman was not known as this athletic standout in his youth. According to Dennis, he remembers not being able to hit a layup. And he was 5'6" in high school. So as a freshman, 5'6", he couldn't hit a layup, and then he also didn't make the football teams, and he was reportedly fucking devastated. All he wanted to do was play sports. I totally get it. All I wanted to do was kiss boys, and it was hard there for a while for me, you know? After high school, he was working as a janitor at the Dallas airport, and suddenly he had a growth spurt and grew to 6'7". From 5'6", and then I think he got to 5'11", to 6'7". His bones, I had a growth spurt in 3rd grade. I haven't grown since the 4th grade. God is hilarious. But yeah, I was 5'7" in the 4th grade. I remember my bones hurting that entire summer, and my mom would put ice packs. We tried to do warm baths. 6'7". I don't understand how he was walking and talking. So after the growth spurt, he's I would like to try basketball once more, you know? So he enrolls in Cook County Community College in Gainesville, Texas. Then he played 3 seasons at Southeastern Oklahoma State. That school is an NAIA school. What is an NAIA school? I'll tell you. Typically, NCAA Division I or D1 teams have many sports and a larger American football or basketball team. Universities with fewer teams or lack of American football may opt for NCAA Division II or NAIA. Duh. I'm going to read you some of his stats because I understand them. In his first ever collegiate game at Cook County, Rodman totaled 24 points and 19 rebounds, an indicator of good things to come, that he's talented. First, he was a first-team NAIA All-American in each of his 3 seasons at Southeastern Oklahoma State, leading all NAIA players in rebounding as a junior. Rodman remained relatively unknown compared to players at big-time college programs, and he lasted into the second round of the 1986 NBA draft when the Detroit Pistons selected him with the 27th overall pick. Let's go! Cut to 1998. He's playing with the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Legendary. From 5'6" freshman that couldn't make the team to a 6'7" Chicago Bull with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. That's crazy. Si se puede, people. Dennis Rodman is one of the greatest rebounders in history. He also created quite a reputation for himself. Quite a reputation for himself as, como se dice, unpredictable and eccentric. He was fined $20,000 and was suspended for 6 games after he headbutted a referee. He tipped over a cameraman and then kicked him in the groin. After a $200,000 settlement, he didn't play for 11 games without pay. He was also very open about his sexuality and the spectrum of it in the 90s for the time. And I don't know if you were in school in the 90s. I was in elementary school, and I had access to television, and I knew people in high school, and I knew people in middle school. And the worst thing you could do in the 90s was be gay. It's like the worst thing. Like, you're not gay, bro, right? Like, totally. And this is like 1996, and he would say things like, I don't mind straight people as long as they act gay in public. And he denied being bi, but he would say things like, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I've never experimented with men. And this blew, especially such a hyper masculine sport like basketball. I almost said football. Sorry. I love sports. I can't get enough of them. Let's bring back those short shorts. Yeah? Okay. This is the exact quote. I can't say I haven't experimented with other men, but I guess it depends on what you mean by experimenting. I'm sure you're very popular. There it is on the t-shirt. He's also been quoted as saying, I like bringing out the feminine side of Dennis Rodman. So he comes out with an autobiography in the mid-90s, and he goes to the book signing in New York City dressed as a bride. I just want you to... I fear it's iconic. When asked why he dressed up like this, he said, I'll wear anything for you to spend $24.95. Let's cut to Carmen and Dennis now that we have some background. Okay, so in 1998, they're at a nightclub in Los Angeles called Billboard Live. She's 25 and he's 36. Carmen Electra was in a very dark place in her life, in a very self-destructive place in her life when she met Dennis Rodman. Her mother had just passed away from a brain tumor, and right after, her sister passed away from a heart attack. So I can't even imagine where her mind was at this time. And I can definitely relate to wanting to just push it aside and be wild and be crazy and self-destructive. Dennis Rodman actually has another book out called I Should Be Dead by Now. And he recalls a night he met Carmen Electra as a Carmen-chanted evening. He was in town because he was playing the Lakers. The Bulls were playing the Lakers. And he says this. He admits, Carmen Electra was another beautiful woman in a long line of beautiful women, and he didn't pay attention to her at first. He says this, however, the way they met is he was entering the nightclub while she was leaving, and he took her coat off her, and hid it. I'll tell you in the next part. Part 2, Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra. So Carmen is leaving the nightclub as Dennis Rodman walks in. He takes her coat off from her, goes inside and hides it, and won't return it to Carmen. He said, I'll only return it if you have dinner with me and my friends. conflicting stories. I didn't pay any attention to her. I just robbed her of her belongings until she agreed to have dinner with us. Here's a quote from Carmen. I'm yelling, give me my coat back. And they said no. Then Dennis leans over and says, what do you want to drink? My friend said, fine, let's have a drink. We ended up exchanging numbers. I didn't return his calls for a long time. I gotta write that one down. I pick up on the first ring. I really gotta work through this. It's fine. Carmen says that she did know who he was, that he was like the bad boy of basketball, who also dated Madonna, by the way. Yes. Another Carmen quote. Seeing the Bulls play was amazing. Michael and Scottie Pippen. That first night in Chicago, Dennis told me, you're not leaving. And after that, it was quick. We fell for each other pretty fast. It reminds me of Pam and Tommy, you know, without the ecstasy. If you recall the Pam and Tommy series. Okay. Carmen continues. We exchanged numbers and he would call and call and call. I wouldn't respond. Finally, one day I picked up the phone and he invited me to come hang out with him and I went for it. I went totally in. So in Dennis Rodman's book, I Should Be Dead by Now, he talks about how he no longer enjoyed physical intimacy with women, that it became like a chore, like a job, but that changed for him with Carmen. He says, with Carmen, it was different. It was nice to be with someone waiting for the right time, right place, right time, Rodman explained. He recalls one date, this is just called intimacy. He recalls one date where they went out, they ate sushi, they came back home, they laid on the bed, and they talked all night. And that was like one of the best dates. He says that she was there for like 4 or 5 days, and they never hooked up, and it was like magical. But once they started, what's that, once you pop the fun, don't stop? They're also very open about their sex lives, okay? So Carmen Electra says that one time he picked her up on his motorcycle, blindfolded her, and one day when he unblinded her, how do you say it? When he took off the fucking blindfold, I'll read you the quote, okay? When he finally takes my blindfold off, we're standing at the Bulls practice facility. Center court. It was crazy, like 2 kids in a candy store. We were eating popsicles from the fridge and pretty much having all over the damn place. In the physical therapy room, in the weight room, obviously on the court. Carmen. To be honest, I don't think he's ever worked out so hard in his life. Lord, I see what you've done for others. Dennis Rodman did an interview with Vice TV. And he says one time he sustained an injury on a boat. It was in Dallas. My girlfriend at the time and I did everything. I ran and jumped on her, and all of a sudden, hemoglobin everywhere. It was just a white girl with hemoglobin everywhere. And she yelled, oh my God, he's dead, I've killed him. And I said, no, honey, I just broke my penis. Carmen Electra says that she felt very, very understood by Dennis Rodman, that they truly understood. I just dropped my vape, it's fine. I'm gonna get it as soon as I... She says that he would always tell her things like, no one gets me, you're the only one that gets me. I've heard that before. Apparently Dennis Rodman was a very emotional person. I mean, you can see from just the way he presents himself to the world that he feels a lot of things. He was very emotional at times. Then there was a sweet romantic side and the fun eccentric guy who loved to go out and drink and wear feather boas. I would love a man that wore feather boas. Carmen continues, people couldn't understand why I loved him because he had a reputation for being a bad boy. And what I saw in the beginning was this gentle giant who was in a lot of pain, and we kind of understood each other. Our relationship was very passionate, so when it was good, it was amazing. But when it was bad, it was the worst. The relationship does feel very like dizzying. You know, there's always a lot of chaos going on. It seems like they were just going on benders, always drinking, always traveling because of Dennis Rodman's schedule, and just partying nonstop. I tried to do that once with a boy and I gained 30 pounds. So, you know. Can someone relate? You know, when you're just like, okay, you start missing the Soul Cycle classes. It's just, you want to be together all the time. You start eating like them. I'm like, why did I eat 2 pub subs? You know? Carmen Electra says this, I was in my 20s. I was down for drinking and going to the clubs. I ended up becoming one of the boys. He wanted me to go to all the games and everywhere with him. Ooh. Attachment. sounds a little like... Okay, every time I would leave Chicago, I'd be on the plane and I'd start crying because I missed him. Sounds like codependency. But she also says, which I think is very, hindsight is 2020, that she loved it because she never had the opportunity to like truly mourn her mother, you know? All this partying, this like whirlwind romance, she like really leaned into, because the moment she leaned out into the real world, she didn't have her mom. Her agents tried to warn her about Dennis Rodman. Her managers, she started blowing off scripts and was just by his side 24/7. We've all been there though, you know, in the beginning. Your friend's like, we never see you. And I'm like, I'm in love. You know what I mean? So famously in June of 1998, Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman have a bender in Las Vegas in the middle of basketball season, in mid-season. So Dennis Rodman goes up to his coach, Phil Jackson, and says, I really need to blow off some steam. I need a couple days off. And he's really underperforming. This is a mid-season vacation, okay? And he's severely underperforming. So his coach is like, okay. But notably, Michael Jordan has been quoted saying that he was not on board with Phil's decision. So this is Michael Jordan's quote about this. I say, Phil, you let this dude go on vacation, we're not going to see him. You let him go to Vegas, we're definitely not going to see him. And Jackson is like, okay, Dennis, you have 48 hours to blow off some steam. Go, blow off some steam, come back. Which is crazy. Like, I can't even imagine asking my ballet teacher in 4th grade for a couple days off. Miss Marta. Days go by, no sign of Mr. Dennis Rodman. And Dennis Rodman is quoted saying, I was having the time of my life with a ton of girls, ton of drinks, ton of Jaeger. If you blow off steam with Jaeger, you're an animal. If you blow off steam with Jaeger, have a Pinot Gris. Come on. If you've seen The Last Dance, the basketball series, I think it's on HBO, you know about this trip. What a good series, am I right? Like, what a good... I was like this, I love basketball. That's how I watched it. I mean, I love Michael Jordan. I watched Space Jam, the documentary, as a kid like this. I loved him. Electra remembers the 48 hours in Vegas. She was like, it was on. Like, we started partying immediately. This is a quote from Carmen. One thing about Dennis, he had to escape. He liked to go out. He liked to go to clubs. We'd go to his favorite restaurant. Then we'd go to a nightclub. Then we'd go to after hours. It just didn't stop. It was definitely an occupational hazard to be Dennis's girlfriend. He was in Vegas partying with World Championship Wrestling President Eric Bischoff, Eric, and Hulk Hogan. Hey, brother. I say it to my brother all the time, and he's like, what? I'm like, come on. Hey, brother. What's up, bro? Okay. I just want you to imagine being Dennis Rodman's teammates and seeing that he's out partying with Hulk Hogan in Vegas nonstop. Actually, I want you to imagine being Dennis Rodman's teammates and seeing this. Okay? Hold on. Ready? Hold on.
They said, all right, now we're even. Let's go at it. Hey, they're getting frustrated, guys.
Imagine being Michael Jordan.
How about that? And Hogan.
How are you?
Years ago when he called, oh, watch out.
Shirt off.
The fans
Oh,
like
that's
that.
not him.
Listening to the fans, always a prelude to the leg drop. That DDP.
So on like the 4th day of like no word, Michael Jordan flies to Vegas to physically get Dennis Rodman. Yo me muero. I die. Carmen Electra actually says that she remembers being woken up by Michael Jordan. I would die. I'd wake up like this. Oh. Because her and Dennis were naked. I die. He played against the Monstars. Have a little respect. Put on some clothes. Like, Part 3, Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman. So this is the quote from Carmen Electra from when Michael Jordan came to physically remove Dennis Rodman from Las Vegas. Okay, here we go. We were both naked, actually, when there was a knock at the door. Dennis jumps up. I don't know if he answered the door naked or not. I can't remember that part because I was hiding. And he just turned to me and said, it's Michael Jordan. I've got to go to practice. Yeah, you do. Also, the Chicago Bulls won the championship that year. How? This is crazy. So November 14th, 1998, Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman get married. They elope at Chapel of the Flowers in Las Vegas. They were out all night. And apparently in the morning, Dennis Rodman woke up Carmen Electra and said, get the hell out of bed. Let's go do something. They got married at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Okay. And Dennis Rodman in his book says that he did have second thoughts, but he's like, let's just get on with this bullshit. Beautiful. And then Carmen told Oprah that after they got married, that she kept thinking, what the hell did we just do? What the hell did we just do? Like, what did I just do? Like, oh my God. They were turned down by 5 chapels until Chapel of the Flowers extended. Okay, let's do it. 9 days after marriage, Dennis Rodman files for an annulment. Okay. If you don't know what an annulment is, I'm going to check that email. 1 second. If you don't know what an annulment is, I'm going to read you the definition. Okay. An annulment declares that a marriage was never valid, while a divorce legally concludes a valid marriage. Dennis Rodman told the court that he was of unsound mind when he got married. A spokeswoman for both Carmen and Dennis said that it was a mutual decision. But they reconciled shortly after. And Dennis Rodman went on Jay Leno and said, you know, we don't live in the same city, we don't live in the same house, but we're really happy. That same night of the Jay Leno interview, Carmen Electra goes on Conan O'Brien and also says that they are really happy. There aren't a lot of details about their 7-month marriage, but there are a shit ton of allegations that Dennis Rodman was like actively cheating on Carmen Electra. I mean, it sounds like he has sincere, like, real avoidance issues. Sounds like he's in a lot of pain, maybe some rejection issues, and it sounds like he is addicted to physical intimacy, to be honest. Like, maybe chasing pleasure all the time, you know? So Dennis Rodman went on Howard Stern and said this. They got into a huge fight. Dennis explained that while he was sleeping, Carmen had taken a piece of uncooked macaroni and inserted it where the sun don't shine. After Howard commented that he had heard Carmen did it because Dennis had relieved himself on the bed, Dennis replied that he doesn't mind being touched down there as long as he has time to prepare. It seems like he loves to be Pegasus. Carmen said that he was also just like very, very unpredictable in their marriage as well. Like that he would rally everybody to go out and they'd be at these bars and then he just disappeared and he just wanted to be alone in the hotel. And Carmen Electra did very, very few public appearances during their marriage, but she did join him at this press conference at Planet Hollywood when he announced that he would be joining the Lakers. Here they are at Planet Hollywood. In April of 1999, Carmen Electra files for divorce. During their whole marriage, there were like huge rumors about Dennis Rodman cheating on her. And actually, in that Howard Stern interview, he does say that the first time that him and Carmen broke up is because she found out that he was cheating. And the woman that he was cheating on her with would drive Dennis to dates with Carmen Electra. What a self-destructive, like, I can't imagine ever not giving that much of a fuck about how I make people feel or make myself feel. Like, he does say that Carmen knew to an extent, so he didn't understand when she found out that she was so upset about this girl. You don't have them drive you to fucking date like crazy. So a publicist representing the couple released this statement. Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman have announced that they have mutually agreed to end their 6-month-old marriage under amicable circumstances. Divorce papers were filed today in Los Angeles on behalf of oh my God, I can read. On behalf of Miss Electra and Mr. Rodman will remain friends. So even though they were divorced, they couldn't stay away from each other. And in 1999, they were arrested in a Miami Beach hotel. They were both charged with misdemeanor battery for a physical altercation. So obviously the fight of theirs had turned physical. I'll read you this from this article. Electra suffered bruising on her arm, an injury to her left temple, and a swollen lip when Rodman allegedly threw her purse at her face. How fucking dare you? Oh, she also cut a toe on her left foot after being thrown outside the hotel room with the two were sharing, according to police report. Motherfucker. Rodman's shirt was torn. Oh. sorry. How tall is she? 5'4"? She's like 6'7". Like an athlete? Whatever. Fucking. Both were taken in handcuffs to Miami-Dade County Jail's domestic violence unit in Miami and released on a $2,500 bail each after several hours in custody. While in custody, Rodman asked authorities to tell Electra that he was sorry he overreacted and that he loved her. You can shove it up where your noodle went. They were ordered by Miami-Dade County Judge Amy Karen, head of the court's domestic violence unit, to stay at least 500 feet away from each other. Over the years, Rodman would continue to struggle, including a 2003 arrest for DV, as reported by the Los Angeles Times. Struggle with what? Not keeping his hands off women? Struggle. Stay strong. Ugh. So today, the couple does not speak often, even though they are represented by the same agent. Dennis Rodman said this in 2018. If the opportunity were to pop up today, if I saw Carmen, I would probably ask her to marry me again. I have been debating about the last couple years. I would ask her to marry me again. I bump into her every once in a while. We don't really talk about our past marriage, just everyday things. But then Carmen says, we have the same agent. He sent me some videos to me wanting to have lunch. Typical Dennis. So our agent put us on the phone for a few minutes and Dennis said hi. It was sweet. It doesn't sound like she's like super excited. So that's the end of that. I just want to end on this note. Dennis Rodman loves going to North Korea and is very good friends with their war leader. He very famously sang him happy birthday, and he tells everyone that he's a really great guy. And everyone knows that Dennis Rodman is such a good judge of character. He slays the look, but besides clothes, I don't know if I would, trust his judgment. I'll see you in the next series tomorrow.